All right. So last week I talked about how you can use the create pop-up template on the layers to quickly get a pop-up template for your layer, even if you're not familiar with the data at all, right? You get a nice little table and it works pretty easily. But how about if you're doing some really cool visualization on your data, right? If you're doing like predominance or dot density, what would a pop-up like that look like? There's some tools in the JavaScript API that can help you out with that. Okay, so first off, I want to go ahead and point out that we have a really nice styles and data visualization guide in the API documentation, right? There's guides here on like location style, data-driven styles, high density, 3D visualization, techniques and best practices, symbols and color ramps, ton of really cool data, right? So if you look at like data-driven styles here, it's going to go through, it's got a nice map up here, showing you some nice visualizations here. Is going to go through and start talking about arcade, right? So if you start working in this, you're probably going to want to get familiar with arcade to help you with your visualizations. It's a really powerful tool that you could use to create some really nice maps. And these are all the different types of visualizations you can do. So like I said, we have like predominance, dot density, I believe even relationship would be useful. And of course, smart mapping APIs to help you take advantage of all of these and do some really cool things. So what would you do if you had for example, let's say predominance, right? So you do a nice, cool predominance visualization in your application. How's that pop-up going to look? So for example, here's the arcade script that you're going to generate for it. And it's going to go through the whole steps of how to create that visualization, how to create your render and stuff. But again, if you're worried about a pop-up, how would you make that something useful? You may not want to just display a table of data, right? Because you have a lot of different things happening here. So let's go and look at how that might work. There's a smart mapping tool in the API called templates for pop-ups, right? So it's under ArcGIS Core Smart Mapping Popup Templates, right? Or Esri Smart Mapping Popup Templates, depending on if you're using the CDN or not. So here we go. It gives you a nice example here. Here's what the default pop-up would look like. This is what we would get with the layer create pop-up template, right? So just a nice table of the data, which a lot of times is fine, right? That might just be what you want. But if you're doing some nice visualization, you might want to fancy this up a bit. And that's where the smart mapping pop-up template is going to come in real handy here. So let's go ahead and look at how that's going to work. So here I have one of the example apps, and this is in the SDK, right? And it's just going to go ahead and, how do I do this? There we go. Trying to make this, give myself some more space here. I know I can. There we go. Okay. So here's my app, and actually there's no pop-up on it just yet. Okay. So I'm not going to go through the whole bit about how to do the visualizations. I think you can go and look at here, check out the SDK, check out the guide on how to actually create the visualizations. But no, we have create render, so you got my render. But there's a nice helpful function here called create pop-up template. And this create pop-up template, if I come over here, let's do a search, create pop-up template. We can see that's used here when you create the predominance renderer and when the view is created, right? So we've got our pop-up template that gets created there. So here what I'm doing is that you're going to take the Smart Mapping API pop-up template creator. That's kind of what we called in here, but it's the templates, right? So it has a method called get templates. You're going to pass a layer to get templates. And what's going to happen here is that we come to our methods here. Get templates is going to go ahead and read the renderer off the layer and pull some other information off of here. Or you can go and specify renderer if you want as well, right? So specify renderer to be used on the layer if it will be different than the renderer already set in the layer, right? So if you're going to have, if you want a pop-up template for some other renderers you're going to provide for your layer, you can pre-generate all those pop-up templates ahead of time, so you don't have to keep running through this. That's kind of useful. I haven't really used that. I just passed the layer, but you can. It's an option. You can see these are all the different layers that it works on. Feature layer, CSV layer, GeoJSON layer, WFS layer, and OGC feature layer. It does not have the map image layer sublayers in here because you wouldn't apply the same visualizations to those. You would, if you needed it, you would go ahead and grab the sublayer. And I'll show this, even though this video isn't about this. You grab the sublayer, and the sublayer has a method on it called create feature layer. You can create a feature layer from that sublayer and then go ahead and use the smart mapping tools on that feature layer if that's what you wanted to do. So let's look at what we're going to do here. So we're going to get a response. That response is going to have an option, object here, a property called primary template, and you want the value of that. So if we come back to the get templates here, what you're going to get back is a promise of templates. And templates are going to have a couple of things here. So we have a template, it's going to have a name, it's going to have a title, and then you have the pop-up template that you get back from it. These are just some other bits you can use, maybe if you want to have some kind of UI to kind of show these different pop-up templates that are available. That's kind of interesting. I never really thought doing that. Letting the user change the pop-up templates type in their app. But that'd be interesting, right? And you get back the primary template and then the secondary template. Now, I have not necessarily found secondary templates when I'm doing stuff, but I'm sure that this is something that you could use as well. This might be templates available when you pass different renderers with the layer, right? That might be when that happens. I would have to double check with someone and see when that would happen, but that's my guess. Anyway, okay, so now if I go ahead and add that function and refresh over here, and I start clicking on things, this is my pop-up template using the predominance renderer. All right, so yeah, here is my predominance renderer for these, all the different years and stuff that are available on here. So this makes much more sense than just having a pop-up template with tabular data, right, in the table form. And the same goes for something like dot density, right? So we've got this dot density renderer in here, and I start clicking on things, and I have just a table of data, all these different years and stuff. Well, not years, but it looks like there's some years data in here. But if I have a create pop-up template function, and you'll notice here, this is going to look almost exactly the same as the previous create pop-up template function that we had in the other example, except in this case here, I'm just going to go ahead and define the title as well, right? So I get my pop-up template from the response, apply a title, and apply that to the layer here. So I can go ahead and refresh this, and we'll just go ahead and we'll pick, let's go ahead and change color schemes. Under the sea, there we go. We'll pick one year, click on this here, and there we go. So we got the 1 year showing me the information for that feature with this nice pop-up template based on the dot density renderer. So that's really cool. Now I can do all these really cool visualizations in my application and take advantage of the tooling in the API to dynamically generate these pop-ups for me that are much more useful than just a table, right? They actually tell me something. I can read this, and it's very clear to me that it's going to provide me some kind of information based on the renderer, based on what I am trying to display visually. I get that kind of in my pop-up as well. So that's a really cool tool that you can use. All right, so this is just another example of the smart mapping tools that are part of the ArcGIS API for JavaScript that you can take advantage of. And like I said, if you want a very basic template for your pop-up, you can use the create pop-up template off the layer. But when you start delving into doing some really cool visualizations, you probably want to tell more of a story with your data than just a regular pop-up with some table information. You probably want to have these nice sentences that are going to summarize the data for you to go along with this nice cool map that you made, right? So go ahead and take advantage of them. Smart mapping tools are great. Again, I highly recommend that you go over the guide for visualization. It's going to provide you a ton of different information you can use. There's even techniques and best practices it'll cover. This is a very valuable resource for a lot of people. So just because you're a dev doesn't mean you can't do some cool visualizations in your apps. You'll have fun, trust me. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit me up with any questions you might have, and I'll try and get to them. Thanks a lot.